All right. I swear this is true. Let me tell you why I love Grady Champion. Grady is one of those guys that I always end up bothering. I'm a huge music fan. I actually wanted desperately to work in the music business when I was a kid and promoted shows from the time I was 15 till I was 23. I would help out local bands in Tucson where I was living at the time. And I was just obsessed with going to concerts, staying after the concerts, and trying to meet anyone who had a job working on these tours. I wanted to reverse engineer how this whole thing works. I really was fascinated with this career path that some very few and very lucky people seem to be on. And Grady is one of those guys. But Grady's backstory is fascinating because my understanding of it is that you got into it because your best friend that you grew up with became the musician that you ended up working for, right?
Yeah, in a way, man. I was in a support band, in a cover band or whatever, and we opened up for Pantera on New Year's Eve in '87, and they just liked us because we sucked so bad. I mean,
it was the Van Halen thing of like get the worst band to open for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So we were a cover band, and so they just drug us around, for all of '88, like every month in '88, we must have played like 150 club shows with them. And
150 club shows in the Dallas area or like around the country?
It was a tour. Like it was like Houston, Dallas, Oklahoma, Shreveport, maybe New Orleans, then Houston. It was just like this big circle. Every weekend was a different city in this little circle.
You feel like rock stars, by the way, at this point?
I sure did.
Yeah, for sure. Well, dude, you're traveling. You're actually leaving town and going to do gigs.
Yeah, and then, and back then it was like my band could get a job playing at these clubs like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then open up for Pantera Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So some of these clubs we were playing like 6 nights a week, 5-6 nights a week.
That is absolutely making it.
It was fun, and it's like when we'd go out with Pantera, then he'd get us a room and we'd have our own hotel room. And
for the whole band?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, whatever.
Yeah. Absolutely. You can handle
21
that.
21 years old. It was cool.
Yeah.
So kind of Dime and I's relationship kind of went backwards because it was like a thing where we got to be close when we were in our early 20s. And then we went backwards to like junior high school and that, the hood rats back then.
And so you started out in junior high is where you first meet him?
Yeah. I was in I don't know, I'll say it like a pop band or whatever. We did like NXS and Duran Duran and stuff like that. Skinny Tie Band.
Whoa.
So, it was like that's what I started playing guitar, listening to, because it was the easiest thing for me. The metal thing was there, but it wasn't easy for me to play for some reason. So he used to kind of, just make fun of me because he knew the bands and knew who was doing what back then, I guess. And then I was also in Air Force ROTC, and he used to like make fun of me because I had to wear my uniform on a Friday.
At gigs? At gigs, you would wear the uniform?
At school.
At school.
Yeah. And so we kind of went backwards. I was like, yeah, man, you used to make fun of me. He's like, yeah, dude. And I was like, yeah, dude.
He didn't even remember? That's hilarious. So did you guys also share that love of music? Did you guys fall in love with music together? Did you? You did?
Yeah. Eddie Van Halen was like, our hero. So, I remember nights going out, he'd be like, hey man, make the God Van Halen mix and we're going out, and I'm like, all right. So I'd sit in my room and get the albums out and make us a God Van Halen mix and we'd go out,
I'm going to bounce around a lot on this conversation, but that period of time when I was living at Eddie Van Halen's house, I got a phone call from Wookie. And Wookie was coming to Burbank, and he said, I know you're living with Eddie Van Halen. We're going to be in Burbank filming a a music video. Do you remember this day? Do you remember when this happened?
I don't. I remember you telling me about this, I think before, bits and pieces of it.
Yeah, he said Wookie was the tour manager at the time, right? For you guys. And Wookie said, "Hey man, we're going to be in Burbank filming a music video for Damage Plan. Is there any way you can get Eddie Van Halen to come by and just say hi?" And I said, "I think it's a long shot, but I'll throw it out there." And turned out that Eddie's assistant Maddie was like, "I'll go." So we went down, and I said, "Yeah, I'll come down. Give me the address, and I'll be there with Eddie's assistant Maddie."
Yeah.
And then Wookie told me, "Man, Dime is so stoked about this." And I had met Dime a couple of times before, just peripheral thing. And that day when we got to the video shoot, we watched the guys filming. I'm assuming you were there at the shoot. Were you there for that shoot in Burbank?
No, I didn't do the Damage Plan stuff.
Okay. And okay. And then we get the introduction. "Hey, this is my buddy Craig. This is Matt." And I remember Dimes, he goes, "Cool, man, cool." And he goes, "Wait a minute. Are you the guy?" He got like super intense. Like it was a childlike enthusiasm. And somewhere down the road, my memory is that they ended up meeting at some point somewhere down the road. And then, of course, after Dime passed, Eddie gave him one of his guitars. Yeah. To put in the Did it go in the casket with him?
Yeah.
Wow.
It sure did.
Wow. All right. So backing up again to the friendship. So this is absolutely fascinating to me. And I'm sure that, I have to believe that even guys who work on road crews who know your story want to hear your story. Am I correct in that?
Sure. I guess, like it's a part of history and stuff. I just, go about my day.
Isn't it weird having a friend that continues to be famous after death?
It's it's the only thing I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
It's only person like that. So, you want to, carry on the legacy for sure.
Yeah. I experienced that on some level with a comedian friend of mine that I lived with. My first roommate in New York was a comedian named Mitch Hedberg. And Mitch continued to get famous after he died.
Yeah.
And so when his name would come up in conversations, people would say, "Oh man, you know who my favorite comedian is Mitch Hedberg." And I would say, I lived with him. "Oh, no way." And then when I would talk about him in the past tense, they would go, "Wait, is he dead?" And I go, "Yeah, you didn't know that?" They're just now discovering him and they think that he's still out there right now, but
yeah,
but you knowing him, you have to have some memory of knowing Darrell, obviously, before he's famous. And it's kind of weird watching a friend get famous.
Well, dude, I like when I was in high school, I went to the Pantera was playing Six Flags, and I was on the photo for the yearbook or whatever. And so I went to they played a place called the Southern Palace, and I went there and I took pictures from my school newspaper, and I've got like some black and white film that's pretty good from that show or whatever. And man, I always even before I got to be friends with him, like close friends with him, I knew he was going to be famous. I knew Pantera was going to be big because he was so good, and then after high school, I started working at a music store that he was giving lessons at. And that's where like the friendship began, because I started taking lessons from him. And then he was like, "Come on, dude, don't pay for lessons. Let's just go hang," Wow. And that's where it started. But, I was like assistant manager of this music store. And so they'd leave me there by myself a lot. And then, man, when he would come in to do lessons, it was like, I had to button up my pants and stuff, because I always knew there was going to be pranks pulled.
Really? Even back then?
He would pull pranks on customers. He'd put $5 on a fishing line and throw it on the floor and drag it around. And
dude,
it never ended.
I have to believe these videos are on YouTube now. Those home videos from Pantera, are they on YouTube?
Yeah,
dude, I strongly recommend checking them out. And I hope you would agree with me, and I hope nobody would take offense to this. I really believe that these early home videos of Pantera was Jackass before there was Jackass. Is that a...
Dude, I agree 110% with that, man.
The stuff they would do on those videos.
Pre Jackass. But it's just the same stuff, but it was, like the camera never got put down. It was always filming.
And the crazy thing to me is that the butt of the jokes, or the guy who was being put up for these $100, $300, $500 challenges to just destroy himself, was a guy who happened to be the head of security for all the concerts I went to when I was a kid. He was the guy that was
in Phoenix, right? Yeah.
And it was in Tucson is where I met Val, was in Tucson. Big Val Bachekis would go on from being the head of security for all the local concerts in Arizona to head of security for Pantera. And in these music videos, not music videos, home videos. These were home videos they would sell in the music stores. It'd be a VHS tape, which would have all the music videos from that album cycle plus behind the scenes footage. And nobody put out better footage and put more thought into footage than Pantera did. And they were constantly fucking with themselves, fucking with their crew. You look almost distressed about it.
Well, it's just, I'll just put it to you this way. It was never a dull moment. I mean, and I mean that, like, literally, like every day was something. Every day was a skit. Every day was a prank. Every day was something. You couldn't ever, like, let your guard down.
All right. I gotta fact check a couple of memories that I have with you.
Sure.
One is Seattle, Washington. Pantera is performing at the Mercer Arena, and being a friend of Val's, Val tells me to meet him outside the loading dock. He's going to hook me up. And he meets me outside the loading dock, and he brings me right into the loading dock area inside the building and tells me to wait there for a minute while he gets me some passes. And a guy walked by. I think his name was Cat. Was that his name?
Yeah, it's Vinny's drum tech.
Vinny's drum tech, Cat, says, for some reason, we end up having a couple of, we have a little bit of an exchange. He says hello. And he says, hey, man, what is today? I go, oh, you know what I'm about to say?
No.
He goes, what? He goes, what is today? I go, it's Thursday. And he goes, Thursday. Mushrooms day. And I said, Mushrooms day? And he goes, yeah, Thursday is Mushrooms day. And then I think he rattled off the other 6 days. Do you remember that being a thing?
No, it may have been with him. Not with me. I was never a mushroom guy.
Grady, is it insane being on the road with a bunch of pirates like this? You don't seem like a crazy person, and you were with absolutely insane people.
Oh, you just didn't know me back in the day.
No? Oh, you're pretty crazy too? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, dude, when you're young and you grow up, you're listening to Van Halen, you're listening to Kiss, and your dream is just to, how cool would it be to be on a tour bus? That's what every guy our age talked about.
I mean, my whole thing was like, I kind of fell into it, like I stumbled into it, and with Darrell's help, and we were playing a birthday party. My band, Cat Daiquiri, glam band. We were opening up for them at a birthday party, and it was the night that Pantera got signed.
Wow.
Yeah, and there was a situation or whatever, and I just remember Darrell coming out to me in the parking lot that night, going, "Hey, man, we just got signed to Atco Records, I think, and I need a guitar tech." And I was like, and okay. And he's like, "You want to be my guy?" And I'm like, okay, like, cool, let's do it. So, it just kind of like hit me like I just kind of hit me, and I was like, okay, I'm your guy. And, I tried to quit a couple times and he wouldn't let me. And
why'd you want to quit? What made you want to quit?
I don't know. I just, it's just one of those things, like in the early days where I was trying to make something different of myself. I was trying to, like, I was on the, going to college, and I was in CAD in the first year of auto drafting,
Oh, wow.
computer aided drafting, and I was going to be an architect, and I had all these other dreams, and it's like, it just, once you get in that black hole of music, you just don't, it just sucks you in and you stay there.
Hmm.
And, he, the one time that I quit, man, he like banged on my apartment door and left me a box of 48 cassettes, brand new cassettes of like Van Halen and Judas Priest. And it's like, how could you quit something you love, motherfucker? And
That's his love language.
It is. And I opened it up and there was this big sticker and it said, "Pussies will never be heroes." And so then I'm like, "You're right, man. I'm sorry. I'm not going anywhere." And so, yeah, let the stories begin.
All right, I'm going to jump around a little bit more. I want to fact check a memory that I had heard. You would have been there the night this happened. The story is that Big Val was, and I know this is true, I know that Big Val was the head of security for Skid Row. Pantera was the opener.
Yes.
And the story that I had heard is that in the middle of a show, Big Val quit working for Skid Row, walked into Pantera's dressing room and said, "Well, boys, I just quit working for Skid Row." And the legend goes, the Pantera guys said, "Well, you want to work for us?" And he continued on the tour. Is that true?
I have a different memory.
Okay. All right. What is the memory?
But it's my memory, so, and mine could be clouded.
Same with me.
I remember that he got fired.
Oh, okay.
And Dime like picked him up off the ground and said, "Come on, you're working with us."
Oh, wow.
So that's my memory,
Okay.
But he was like, he was in the circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was.
He was just one of those dudes that like, "Yo, come on, dude, you're not fired. You're with us."
Yeah, I remember seeing him in Spokane, Pantera show. I want to say Coal Chamber was one of the opening acts. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
And at this point, there's 2, maybe 3 home videos out now that feature Val doing stunts in all these Pantera videos. And I tell him how proud I am of him. I said, "Man, I can't believe that this cool band is featuring you in all these videos." And he said, "Watch what happens. When I walk out there, before the lights even go down, I'm going to go in the pit and the whole crowd, you're going to hear them going, 'Big Val, Big Val, Big Val.'" And sure enough, I watched it happen. The security guy walked out and got cheers for walking out.
Dime made us all famous.
Wow.
So,
and by the way, I don't think this applies, but I wonder if you had this kind of dream. There's so many musicians I've met over the years who say, and it's funny because a lot of them actually go back to Kiss. A lot of musicians talk about being at a concert, of course, and going, "Whoa." I mean, I had the same feeling going to a concert. My first concert was Styx. Kilroy was here tour. And I remember just the lights going out and the roar of the crowd just made me go, "What the I've never felt that."
What is this?
Yeah, it was just such an adrenaline rush. And I'm hearing music that I love, and there's such a back and forth between the artist and the audience. And I'm so high off of this, and I just want to be a part of this. And I remember musicians over the years who have said, "I went to Kiss and I thought, I got to be a part of that." And Big Val told me a story once about going to see Kiss in Phoenix at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. And the band comes out and Val sees people in the pit handling the show. And he goes, "How do you get that job?" And he wanted to be one of those guys. He wanted to be in the pit with a yellow shirt on. Did you ever have, do you remember a first concert and thinking, "Oh my God, I got to be a part of this"?
My first concerts, I saw, my first concert was Blue Oyster Cult. And then, and they had the big blow up Godzilla and all that stuff.
Shit.
And I was tripped out, but, I wanted to be, and then it was Triumph. I saw Triumph live and I couldn't believe the show, and Iron Maiden on Peace of Mind.
Wow.
Van Halen on Diver Down.
Oh, man.
Van Halen Diver Down was what made me realize when I was younger that I needed glasses, because I was like so far up in the upper balcony and couldn't, they were that big. and I couldn't tell. It could have been anybody on stage, but anyway, I was there. But I wanted to be kind of a musician. I wasn't thinking of the other side of it. I wasn't thinking of like the tech side or roadie side of it. And then the Pantera thing, it was just a big family. We're all just a bunch of hood rats, man, that went out and destroyed stuff and drank and worked for the most killer band ever.
Did you ever get in trouble in other countries where it could have been really bad because you're in another country?
Japan, we got in trouble in Japan. We went to a hobby store and everybody bought a bunch of machine gun BB guns and I'm talking like the Terminator Jesse Ventura one, the Gatling thing, and it had a big tube of BBs on your back, and Dime of course, there's lots of drinking involved, and then it was just knocking on people's rooms, and as soon as you open up your door, he would just like machine gun all your lights out and everything, and just the lampshades, and anyway, needless to say, we got kicked out of the hotel and we got sent home.
Really? From the tour?
Yeah.
Whoa.
It was not a good look.
And out of curiosity, was that a Udo show?
Yep.
Okay. Because there's this famous promoter out in Japan who I think passed away just a couple years ago.
Yes, Mr. Udo. Yeah.
Mr. Udo. And Mr. Udo was the guy who brought everybody to Japan. And Udo did not want...
Oh, dude. To disgrace him, man, was like you're the Godfather. You don't...
Wow.
You don't mess up that opportunity. And so we messed that one up.
Wow. So so again, bouncing around.
Yeah.
You go from having this friendship, you're opening for Pantera the night they get signed, and he says, dude, I want a guitar tech. How soon after that is your memory of actually hitting the road because Pantera was like a road band. You guys were on the road all the time, right?
Yeah. So like my memory is that I worked for him in clubs after that, and I would set my stuff up and play and take my stuff down and then work for him. And then it got to be like, just, hey man, just plug into my stuff so you don't have to so you don't have to spend all that time taking your stuff down, but you can't use my wireless.
Okay.
So I did that for a little bit, and then it was the studio for Cowboys from Hell. We drove up to New York in a van to play a couple shows while we were mixing the record after recording it in Texas. And then it was an RV and drove out to San Francisco to open up for Suicidal Tendencies and Exodus in like 89.
For a one-off show?
No, for a tour. That was our first tour. Yeah.
Whoa.
We did clubs with Suicidal and Exodus.
And how long from that moment until they're headlining clubs? Because I remember the first time I saw Pantera was headlining a large club.
It was within 90 and 91, when Cowboys was released. We did opening slots, and then we headlined little clubs. I think the first show we did in Kansas City that we headlined, we had like 30 people. Wow. And then, all the fellows are sitting in the dressing room, and they're like, Van Halen night. Grady, what do you want to play? So they drag us up to do songs and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
And fuck the 30 people that are here. We're just going to do what we want to do.
Well, they did what they wanted to do, but then, it was spontaneous. Like, hey, we're going to play this. You want to play this?
Each step of the way, when you get to from a opening act on a big club tour to headlining clubs to getting into theaters and then arenas, do you see it coming? Is it all kind of surreal? Did you have to step outside the bubble to realize what was going on?
I didn't step outside the bubble because it just felt like this big freight train of momentum, like every album was like, it was like clubs, then it was theaters. And then, Far Beyond Driven went number one, and that was the next step was sheds and arenas. And it was just amazing. Thinking back and looking back on it, like, it was just an amazing ride.
I, everything you're describing about Dime is that and I guess I've heard a few stories of like similar to this. He was a very giving person, and I mean, especially to you, he was a friend.
Yeah.
Did you see people taking advantage of his kindness?
No, I didn't, because there was too much kindness to go around.
Wow, what a great description!
He he
That is
never
such a great description.
he would help anybody out that asked. And then, like, there were nights when I remember when he started getting some money that, we'd go out and he'd buy, he'd spend a fortune just buying the whole bar shots all night long, and then it was like, hey man, I'm going to give you my credit card and you're going to have to pay for stuff and watch it, because like I can't be footing the bill for the whole place every night, and I'm like, yeah, you should tone it back a little bit.
So he put you in charge of seeing who was actually getting their drinks charged?
Just putting me in charge of just going, all right, everybody, one round on Dime, and that's
okay.
it.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So I looked like I was the guy, and he wasn't, so.
Okay, another urban legend I would like to confirm with you. And this is one I've heard from multiple people. When the Dallas Stars won the championship, there was a party at Vinny Dimes, either or?
Vinny's.
At Vinny's.
Yeah.
The Stanley Cup, according to the legend, ends up in the pool of Vinny's house. True or false?
True. Very true.
Were you there when this happened?
Yes.
Oh, and you're a Stars fan, correct?
Of course.
And
we didn't have hockey when I've lived here all my life. We didn't have hockey, so yeah, I'm a Stars fan.
Holy shit! So you get to go to the games. You get to go watch the championship ride. Did you go to the games?
Yeah. Vinny got he got season tickets that were like right behind the goal, and he was very generous with those. He'd card would show up in the mailbox, and it'd be like, "Hey man, Stars game on me,"
Wow.
And so he was very generous with those, and we got to know all the guys. They followed us around for a little while and come to shows and sit in the dressing room and drink some beers and hang out. It was just it was awesome.
Dude, it's making me wish, like, the few times that I met Dime, again, it was peripheral. I'm a fan. Just want to tell you how much I love your music. Vinny, though, would show up at comedy shows and was a big comedy fan, and we had some conversation about comedy, and but man, you were describing these are incredible personalities you're describing. When the conversation comes up and it starts getting real about putting this thing back together, it was incredible to see you still be a part of that. It's Zach stepping in to play guitar, but you're there too.
Sure.
Was that something you wanted? Was it something that other people said, Grady's got to be a part of this? How did that happen?
Well, it's like, I was told, there'd been rumors for years about something happening and it never did. And so I just took the latest rumor that, things were going to happen as like, and then I got a call from Rita and she's like, hey, this is happening. And I was still kind of like, and then the headline came out or whatever. And I went and Craig, dude, I went and threw up.
Really?
Yeah, it made me sick.
Why?
Just the anxiety, I think, because of, like, do you ever have like bad comedy dreams, like nightmares when you're on stage and you're tanking, or, like,
well, I've had real actual nightmares where I'm on stage tanking, but, but I've also had dreams. I have dreams where things are going wrong. Yes. And then for some reason I have dreams where I am late for something, a flight, a gig, an interview, something. But where do you think these anxieties are manifesting from?
I would have nightmares of like,
wow.
Reading this headline and that Pantera is getting back together, and And then I would have to go like get all Darrell's guitars out of the storage, and I would have to get the cables and the rig going again, and things would be made of cardboard, and I'd restring all the guitars left-handed, and just like total like gig mares, but I had read that headline in one of those gig mares, more than once. And it was reality. So it was the weirdest thing for me to read that and actually see that have seen that in a nightmare. But they wanted me to be a part, and then I started thinking about it, and I was like, my boy would want me there,
Yes.
So, Philip wanted me there and Rex wanted me there. And so, I said, yeah, I'm in.
Wow. That's an incredible story, because obviously Zach has his guy that he's been using for a while. And so Zach was cool with having you there. And obviously you bring another key piece of this world together.
Right. It's like Zach's got his guy and that does his guitars. And then I just built the rig and do the effects during the show, so it's real symbiotic to where nobody loses a step. You know what I mean?
Oh, so Zach's guy is still there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So you guys actually are two techs working.
He was the guy that you yelled at in Chicago.
Oh, that's no, it was in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis.
Yeah. When I did the show opening for Pantera, and thank you, Rex Brown, for making that happen. I'm a pussy when it comes to opening for bands. I've been lucky enough to open for Metallica, System of a Down, and now Pantera. And I just know, as a fan of Pantera, that I don't even want to see a comedian open for Pantera. So the only way I've been able to successfully pull this off is to be sneaky about it and just go on stage and say, my name's Craig, I'm the band's tour manager, and everybody listens.
Dude, hook, line, and sinker.
Yep. And by the way, hook, line, and sinker, I heard from Grady. I heard from, is it Meg was the tour manager?
Meg, yes.
Meg and a couple of people said, as soon as you said, hey, I'm Craig, I'm the tour manager, apparently a couple people said, we got a new tour manager?
It was like with authority, like.
Oh, dude, speaking of with authority, I really leaned into it. I said, my name's Craig. I'm the band's tour manager. Everyone went, yeah. And I took a step back. I got emotional about it. And I said, thank you. Nobody's ever cheered for me before. And the crowd started going, Craig, 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 Craig. And I said, you mind if I do that one more time? They said, yeah. And I go, my name's Craig. I'm the band's tour manager. They went, yeah. And that's when I turned to the guy and said, that's how you show respect, motherfucker. And he was looking at me like, what are you yelling at me for?
Meg came out and she's like, is he saying that he's the tour manager? And I was like, yes.
Dude, I don't know. We haven't had a discussion about this, but for the next several days, there were articles coming out saying employee for Pantera announces new live album, and it upset some of the fans who were like, new live album, that's so disrespectful. And then people started like shitting on me on these articles, not knowing who I was. But because I was anonymous, I started shitting on me. I started commenting and saying, yeah, fuck that guy. And I started quoting my jokes and saying, what did what did the size of Zach Wild's genitalia have to do with the night's festivities? That was wrong, man. And I was heckling myself as an anonymous person until the band several days later said, no, we are not putting out a live album. That was just a joke from our comedian buddy, Craig Gass. And they tagged me and everything. And I went, oh shit, here comes
now
the crowd.
Busted.
Yeah, now I'm busted. But dude, it was so much fun. But being in that world again and seeing those familiar faces again, it was, I mean, you must have been hearing about this in every city, reconnecting with old friends.
Absolutely.
And are there any comments from people that really stood out about memories?
There's lots of like, Pantera fans that reach out to me, through the many messaging services or whatever. And now they've had a kid and now they're bringing that child out to shows with, not child, but 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever. But, they saw Pantera back in the day and they're bringing their children and, we go for a quick, hey, how are you? And meet up and say hi and do the thing.
It's got to be incredibly surreal I imagine you get used to it once the machine is out and going, because if it's already been 2 years now.
Yes, sir.
So in the beginning, though, are there moments of like when I lost my mom, there were things I did not expect to bother me, and one of them was commercials for Mother's Day bothered me, and
yeah.
I didn't expect that to bother me. Were there things that caught you in the beginning of touring that you didn't expect to catch you?
You know, no. I mean, I still cry. You know,
Yeah.
like the tribute videos and the celebration videos and stuff. I still tear up. You know, in the middle.
And just to clarify, you're talking about the videos they play on stage every night.
Yes,
Yeah.
the videos that Pantera plays on during the live performance, it still makes me weep. You know, some nights like Father Zach he's ripping something up and just killing it, and you know, it brings a tear to my eye because I just think of like Zach's passion to play dime stuff and you know, the effort that he puts into it, and it just, you know, it's emotional for him too some nights as well, you know, because the same reasons.
Dude, I couldn't believe that night. You and I were talking about some, I don't know, just like goofy stuff, talking about the show that's about to happen. This is the night of the show at the First Avenue. And then you told me, I felt like it was unrelated in the conversation, but I was asking you about getting this whole thing back together. And then you said that you went to start getting the gear out, and then you actually came across the guitar case. That was the night that that Darrell's life was taken, and you saw the case.
Yes.
And in that moment, by the way, how do you remember it being that case?
It's labeled.
Oh, it's labeled. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you know, it was yeah, I was redoing the guitar closet and getting all the guitars organized and everything and labeled and I saw that was the case, and I, you know, I went and got Rita, and she hadn't seen it since that night either. So we were both in the vault, and we both opened it up together because neither one of us had never seen it, and had a moment, needless to say, you know, because it's still just, I mean, it may be 20 years or whatever, but I think this is December 8th is going to be 20 years, but it still feels very tangible. I'm just very, you know, like it was just last month. You know, it doesn't feel like it's been 20 years to me at all.
Yeah, I remember you saying that when you opened it. If I remember correctly, it was that Rita asked you a question about it, and your response was, "Well, they did say they cleaned it."
Yeah,
but when you opened up the case, you realized
it was just wiped down. It wasn't cleaned.
Oh.
So it was more than what we bargained for. We thought we were going to look at just the guitar that he had played, but you know, it was just wiped down real good, but not enough. So that was, you know, man, what are you going to do?
Is there anything you do to pay tribute to him? Like, is there any traditions that you keep for him?
Well, I guess when we started off our first tour, I got everybody in the crew together and got everybody in a big circle. It was like 30 of us or whatever, and you know, we did a black tooth
grin. I knew you were going to say that.
In order of, you know, Diamond Vinny and
Pantera, you know, was famous
and going, but you know, it's like, shoot, at 58 years old, you're not going out and having a bunch of whiskey and stuff every night. So like,
Pantera was famous for the black tooth grin, which was it Jägermeister? What is the black tooth grin?
It started out with Seagram 7.
Okay.
And a splash of Coke, and then it changed to, once he started drinking Crown, it changed to Crown Royal and a splash of Coke.
Okay. And why did he change from Seagram's to Crown? Was it just a preference?
Yeah, it just tasted better. I guess it was more expensive, you know, back in the day. $5 more a bottle or something. When we could start affording stuff.
In all the years of the heavy drinking and partying with Pantera, did you ever need to get help?
No, not during that train ride. No, you know, I was too wrapped up in it to think about trying to get help. It wasn't until I don't know, like 2010 that I started to get help. So I went another full blown, 10, 15 years.
Wow.
Off and on.
Yeah. Well, good for you.
But it's just one of those things where like there was one night where I decided I wanted to do a show sober, right? And
that is such a bizarre statement.
Right?
Go ahead.
Right. Wanted to do a show without drinking. I just wanted to do a show, man. And so we get into the dressing room every the power hour before they went on stage. They Dom would get everybody in the dressing room, and we do shots and beers and whatever, and the whole crew would. And there was one night where I walked in there and I said, "Hey man, I don't want to drink tonight, man. I just want to do a show." And he pours me a shot and he looks at me and he's like, "Drink it or wear it." And I'm like, "Dude, I just want to do a show sober. I don't want to drink. Is that cool for one night?" He's like, "Drink it or wear it." And we played back and forth. And I was like, "No." And then he just hit me right in the face with that shot, and so of course I caved, So I didn't do one Pantera show back in the day sober.
Wow. But now you are.
Yeah. No, dude, I couldn't. There's no way I could drink before a show. It would wipe me out.
Yeah. Well, we change, man. Get older and things change. You can't handle things the way you used to.
No. Food, booze, nothing.
Was it Pantera consistently the entire time that Dime and Vinny were in Pantera before you started working with other artists for you?
Yes, it was them straight on. I did some work for went on tour with Typo Negative for like, I don't know, eight weeks or whatever, during some downtime. But I did all the studio stuff. So I was in the studio with them all the time too. So I was never not working with them from 88 to, the end 2001.
One more urban legend story. And I hope this was you. I hope that, and this is actually honestly something I've been meaning to ask you in person. It's a story, and I think it's specifically about you.
Oh boy.
A mutual friend of ours, Takumi.
Okay.
I can't even remember what we were telling funny. I think we were telling funny poop stories for some reason.
Oh no.
And he had a story about you on an airplane. That was you?
Yeah.
The way he described it was truly miraculous. Can you please describe what happened in that airplane bathroom? And where were you flying to when this explosion happened?
It was horrifying, dude. I mean, we had just flown from LA to Sydney, and then we were going Sydney to Auckland.
Okay.
And, I was like, man, I can't. I was going to just wait till I got to the hotel or whatever in Auckland, and I couldn't. So I was like on the flight over from Sydney to Auckland. I went and I filled the toilet up, man, like nobody's business. And I was like amazed. I'm like, well, oh my God, that all came out of me. No way, and so then I went to flush and I didn't close the lid. And it was like a shit volcano all over the ceiling, all over the mirror, all over me. And I, so yeah, it happened like that. And we were going through customs in Auckland, and Kumi walks up to me. He's like, "Dude, what's that on your shirt?" I'm like, "Man, I just not wiped out, it was awful."
You may not know this, Grady, but you
always close the toilet when you in an airplane.
You are a soundbite king. Fucking, it was a shit volcano, man. With the
volcano, dude.
The way he described it to me, Takumi said that the explosion happened and that you were like, "Oh my God," and that you kind of leaned up against the door,
like
the door to the lavatory,
and it went, and I went like that, like, "Oh my God!" And I didn't think to close the lid. I just thought to try to get it out of the way.
But the way he described it is that none of it touched you.
It struck my shirt.
Okay, that's it. Just one little. Yeah, he said that you, the way he describes that, you looked up, and you looked around, and you couldn't believe that none of it was on you. All of it was like,
he's just he's just making a story good.
Yeah. Well, it is a great story, man. Dude, I really appreciate you spending time sharing stories about your friendship. It's one that I find endlessly fascinating. A friendship that turns into this epic journey multiple times around the world.
Can I tell you one thing? A story about Dime, about his humanity, and what a cool dude he was. I had me and my wife, we just had our house, and we just had our first child, and the air conditioner goes out, and it's bad. The whole thing needs to be replaced, and Dime wanted me to come down to the studio, and I said, dude, I can't, because I got to figure this air conditioner out, because it's broken, and I had a guy come out, and he quoted me like I needed a whole new system, and I'm freaking out, dude, so I can't. And he's just said okay, and hung up the phone. He'll call me later. And then a couple hours later, a air conditioning company comes up with a full inside unit and outdoor unit, and and I'm like, I didn't order this, and I called him, and I'm like, hey man, what's up? And he's like, dude, we got to keep that baby cold, and I went, I can't afford this, dude. He goes, you don't got to afford it. We just got to keep that baby cold.
Wow.
So he just dropped the cash and took care of me. That's the kind of dude he was, man.
Do you feel him inside of you sometimes when you make an act of kindness to somebody else? Because I feel like people like that inherently become part of us, because they show us a side that maybe we should be more of.
Absolutely. I do my best to send pics out when people request them. I've still got a bunch of his pics here. So it's not, above me or anything to put out 50 envelopes and put pics in them and send them to people that ask.
Wow.
I try to stay in touch with, everybody that messages me on any of the platforms. I try to answer everybody. I don't always all the time, but I do my best. And it's just for what he would want. He just loved people, and he loved his fans, and I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for him. So there's a lot of feelings there. I wouldn't be where I'm at for all the guys. They it's like we took all of us hood rats and let us be who we were and fuck up and make mistakes and not be like the best guitar tech that ever lived or the best drum tech that ever lived or whatever, whatever have you, but we're not going anywhere,
So that crew was made up of friends from Dallas?
Yes.
Wow.
All of us were.
Which is a dream. It's literally the dream come true to have that group of friends traveling the world, loving music, and being able to see the world together and have all those experiences and listening to Van Halen.
It's God Van Halen.
Yeah. Dude, when you say, you really are an extension of Dime, because when Grady mentions that mailing picks, he's talking about when you go to the concerts and the musician throws the guitar pick in the audience, the guitar pick will usually have like a signature on one side, logo of the band. It's like, it's their pick. And fans like myself are collectors. And you have to understand, a guy like Grady it's not just at the concert. Obviously, after the concert, there's fans still sticking around in front of the stage. Hey, can I get a pick? Get a set list. They're yelling out requests. It's not only that, it's all day long in the venue before you even get in the building. There's people who work in the building who are walking up to Grady saying, can I get a guitar pick? People who are security, can I get a guitar pick? And after a while, it's understandable that your patience will wear thin. Hasn't your patience ever worn thin? Can you remember a singular moment that maybe you regret where you're like, oh man, I was just having a bad day?
Not that I can remember.
Wow. Good Lord, Grady.
I mean, sainthood. My memory's not that great either, though. So,
yeah. There's somebody in Oklahoma who's like
feathers here and there, but never intentionally. I wouldn't. That's never been my intentional thing to do that to somebody intentionally. So I don't ever get tired of it, man, because it means a lot to people, and making people happy is what it's all about.
With the anniversary coming up, do you do anything to commemorate him on the anniversary?
I used to go out to the gravesite, but it's just you can't. It's almost like there's so many people there that you can't go out there to grieve, really, or get with yourself,
Yeah.
So I don't do that anymore. But we have a party over at his house and over Rita's house, and we get together, and we always get together. I have some friends come in from New Orleans, to do that, and we get together, and it's just a time to reflect, and because he made everybody's lives, man. He's the one that for me anyway, he's the one that made me, and I do channel him sometimes, when I look at things funny or want to play a joke on somebody. I'm like, all right.
Well, man, it's what a blessing it's been to have that relationship in your life, to put you on the trajectory that you're on. And
Oh, man.
I just there's so many people in your crew, you and Rita, everybody there has always been so nice to me. Later in life, I became friendly with Rex, but man, I just appreciate your always being nice to me. And when I put together this storytelling podcast, you're one of the first people I thought of that I really wanted to talk to you and have your story be told to me. And let me ask you, even as we were talking, I was like, oh, I got to ask him about the poop story. And I got to ask him about, I was remembering stuff. I was like, oh,
I'm
shit.
Gonna kill Takumi, man.
Yeah. Dude, that poop story is so amazing. He really made it sound like it was a just like a final fireworks explosion, like the last fireworks thing, and that you somehow looked around and were not touched by any of it, is what he made it sound like.
It got me, but I used up every piece of paper in that bathroom to get it off the mirror and ceiling and the lights and just
and the whole flight to Auckland is, sir, hello. Is it?
Yeah.
Hello.
I go out, I open the door, and there's like this big line of people like waiting. And the first person that was in there was a guy named Dennis that worked for System of a Down, because that was the tour me and Takumi were doing. And I was like, oh, I was like, thank God it's somebody that I know, and I was like, dude, don't go in there. And I just kind of got past everybody, and I just hear him just go, holy shit. I was like, told you.
Oh, that's amazing. I think I saw you on that tour. I think that's when we hung out in Australia with on that System.
That's the only tour that me and Takumi have ever got to do together. It was glorious.
Wow. Well, dude, thank you for your time, man. I wish you well. I look forward to the next time we get to hang out, and I hope that it's on a day off, that we're in the same town together so we can actually hang out, because I know you're going to be touring more into 2025 with Pantera. And the dates, it's going to be throughout the year, right?
I think so. We've got a European tour to do, 4 weeks to that. And then we've got 2 months of Metallica shows, which is 12 shows.
Oh, that's right.
With Metallica.
You know what? I believe I'm going to see you in Tampa.
Okay.
On the Metallica Pantera. That's the only date that would work out for me. But again, hopefully on a day off we can hang out. And
absolutely.
Dude, thank you so much for talking to me. I really do appreciate you. Love you too, man. And I'm looking forward to next time. Thank you, Grady.
All right, Craig. We'll talk to you soon, man.
All right, take care, buddy.
Peace.